Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Post Fight. And in this edition of Post Fight, I'll be doing Post Fight UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura. So yeah, for this card I went 11 and 4 or 11 and 15, so pretty solid, like real good cards. 11 and 14, solid. 11 and 4, I said 11 and 14. 11 and 15, 11 and 4, solid, great card. Can't take nothing away from it. Solid, great card. But with the theme of this video and the purpose of this video is to backtrack to the L's, kind of highlight the main event, and that's the video. So let's start with the first L. The first L was Chris Duncan versus Aspinall, and I think with this one, I think I went like average confidence Aspinall. I said like I think a first or second round TKO, but can't really take like hindsight. We try to look at hindsight how I could correct this too much. I can't really do too much of that with this pick because again, it's not again because I haven't even said nothing yet. Like, what are you talking about? You're saying like I said, but you haven't said nothing. You're saying like I told you, but you haven't said nothing. But yeah, in this one, I can't really take too much from it, particularly except maybe going forward. I know that Ashmoff is tough. He's not a guy that's going to quit. He's not going to be a guy, at least for the next couple years. He's not a guy that's going to get hit and be like owie, and then he's going to quit. He's not going to curl up into a ball. This guy had I don't know what injury he has, or if he did get an injury in the fight, but I definitely think he got an injury in the fight. But nonetheless, even without injury, it was Chris Duncan who injured him. So I mean, that will hurt him. So I'm not trying to take nothing away from Chris Duncan. Amazing performance from Chris Duncan. Solid performance from Chris Duncan. He's continued to evolve and improve with every single fight. So good look for him. Good win for him. And I think he could definitely thrive in this division going forward. Ashmoff took an L. I took an L by picking Ashmoff in this one. And he showed heart, he showed grit. And I think that's a good attribute to show, going forward. And both these guys have shown that ability because Chris Duncan was about to, just retire after, he was getting picked apart on the Contender Series. And he got finished the first Contender Series fight he had. And the second fight, he would look like he was about to get finished again. And he came back and finished his opponent. Now he's 2-0 in the UFC. So he's 1-1 on the Contender Series and 2-0 in the UFC, riding like a 3-fight winning streak or something, maybe more. So turn it around, and that's my I think I see the skills, and I definitely see that he can evolve and improve, and having that toughness and that the willingness to win and dig deep is a attribute that a lot of people don't have, and I think that's gonna take him far, and that's gonna take both of these guys pretty far. Am I saying they got a super high ceiling? No, but I think they can, stick around the UFC and have some longevity in the UFC. Probably, not be a here today, gone tomorrow. But probably have like 3-4 years at least in the UFC, probably. But I'm not making no bet on that. But I think both these guys definitely have some good times ahead of them, and they can pick up some more wins ahead of them. Yeah, that's what I would say it was that one. But as far as like what can I really take from it, like hindsight wise, like I should have knew this, or what I should have known going to, and not much. The factors that were there, I don't feel like they were good enough, and I thought Ashmoff was a good dog. I thought it was a close fight on paper, and I thought Ashmoff was a good dog, and I liked him there, but yeah, it's not really a whole lot I could draw from that one. Like as far as I could have knew this but prior. Yes, yes, Chris. I can't even speak right now. Yes, Chris Duncan has been training around some elite training partners and whatnot. But it's all the time. It's every single day is people training around elite competition that can't even barely get a win. You guys training right next to John Jones and maybe like 5-400 or something. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but people train next to great fighters all the time, and they be far, far from great. So it's not a clear indicator that because I'm training with this champ or this former champ or this elite fighter or these elite fighters, I'm at the gym with all these elites. Kevin Lee training at that superstar gym, and he just got starched by Renat Fakhretdinov. So, and I think Kevin Lee always not all the time, but yeah, he was training at elite gym, got starched and retired, or retired himself, but he got starched, but he retired himself. But so that's no. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but I'm just saying it. And with Sean Soriano, he trains around an elite gym, and in and out of the UFC. So all I'm trying to say is training around elite competition is no clear indicator that you're going to win a fight. It definitely can help, but it's not a clear indicator you can win a fight. But at the day, Chris Duncan won, so whatever he did paid off for him, and he got it, and you definitely see an improvement. So I talked too much about that one. Now to the next one was Danny Roberts versus Johnny Parsons. Ain't gonna really talk too much about this one. I thought Danny Roberts was the overall better fighter, and I think he still is the better overall fighter. But you know that he's a bit chinny, and that's something to factor in. He's kind of getting up there in age, and I think Johnny Parsons was able to cash in on that glass chin and get a win over him. But I'm still not gonna be high on Johnny Parsons. I think Danny Roberts, we already know who he is. Like I said, pretty solid technical fighter, very chinny. Struggles to falls against the elite or falls against the people that's going to he's like a lower tier gatekeeper, I would guess, a lower tier gatekeeper journeyman. I don't think he ever been top 15 or nothing like that. We kind of sit out the top 15, and like if you could beat him, you can maybe challenge for the top 15 or something, and that's about it. But he's a solid technical guy, will run everywhere, so he could give a lot of people good tests. But that's what he is. He's a lower tier journeyman that has managed to stick around in the UFC for a good number of years. But he's a solid fighter, a solid technical fighter. But if you can find that chin, or maybe you're just more technical, maybe you're just more active, you'll be able to beat him. And Johnny Parsons was able to beat him, but I'm still not super impressed with Johnny Parsons. I don't feel like he has that many. I don't feel like still as a striker. I don't feel like his striking stands out. And then other than that, what does he really have? So still gonna have a low ceiling for Johnny Parsons. As far as that is, still gonna have a low ceiling for Johnny Parsons. Good win for him, but still gonna have a low ceiling for him. And Danny Roberts, we already know who you are. So not a whole lot to say about that one. Third L was the biggest L was Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. And what can I learn about this one right here? So this was high confidence. I feel like everything was lining up that Muniz should be, win this one comfortably, I guess. No, Muniz was coming off a loss to Brendan Allen. So, his ego probably was bruised a little bit. His he maybe had a little bit of self-doubt in himself coming into this one, maybe. But he was fighting Paul Craig, who a lot of times have self-doubt in himself. A lot of times. Coming down to, kind of getting past that mid-30s point, coming down to middleweight. What's that, like a 20-pound drop? A lot of these weight classes be like 4 pounds. Well, not in MMA, but I'm referencing boxing. But MMA, a lot of weight classes are like 10 pounds away from each other, or roughly 10 pounds away from each other. But the weight jump from middleweight to light heavyweight is 20 pounds, so 205 to 185. So I thought Paul Craig might be a little bit sucked out, and he wasn't. And Muniz was like 3 years younger, so I was like some factors there. And I thought Muniz would be able to touch him and make him uncomfortable, then maybe from there be able to find success in the grappling and tap him out or something, but that was not the case. And Muniz looked good pretty early, but I think some things factored in him losing. But ultimately, I will say, to try to make, if I get too much far into this talking about this particular fight, is what I will say, I'm not going to say no excuse like, oh, he got lucky, or it was a 1% chance this would have happened, or something like this. The right man won, and I think most times you play this fight out, this is how it will play. I think it was a stylistic matchup. I overlooked it, and I was overconfident in Andre Muniz. And it's not about now just trying to say, oh, it is what it is, but like I think this is a fight I can learn from. It's the biggest L for me on the card, but it's definitely an L I can learn from. It's not a case of it was just a freak. It was just a freak occurrence. It was not a freak occurrence. I think what exposed in Andre Muniz is that if it already wasn't improving in the Brendan Allen fight, is I just think Andre Muniz is a front runner. I don't think he's very good off his back. I think he's more so a top grappler. He might be able to jump for arm bars, but as far as on bottom, he against other guys that can grapple or can at least somewhat replicate or match his skills. He's not that good off his back, or he's not that comfortable off his back, and he can fade pretty easily there. So he's like a typical front runner. Like when you're on top and everything's going your way, and even then sometimes his cardio don't be the best, but his work rate don't be the best, but definitely particularly when it's not going his way, like somebody's on top of him, like punch him in the face or transitioning. I feel like he fades out there. So that's something to recognize. So it seemed like the current theme to beat Muniz. So again, like a guy that has relatively close enough grappling to his, and that could put him in situations that he's not comfortable in, and you can see him fade and break down pretty quickly when he's put in those situations. So Brendan Allen was able to do it, and now Paul Craig was able to do that. And Paul Craig, when he typically falls down over against opponents, it's typically like maybe, really like probably heavy hitters or people that can have hit hard and can stuff takedowns pretty well, or Khalil Roundtree or something, or who else? Alonzo Minifield knocked him out. So yeah, like he kind of crumbles to heavy hitters a lot of times when you look at most of his losses. Then with that one weird Jimmy Crute loss, But yeah, I guess Paul Craig fit the mold better to beat Andre Muniz than Andre Muniz fit the mold to beat Paul Craig. Andre Muniz still has not yet really shown to be a real striker. He looked decent for the first round on the feet. And I guess if he would have fought that kind of same kind of strategy as he did in the first round, he probably would have won a pretty clean decision. But I think in the second round, I think he was trying to get a finish and got a little bit frustrated. He went for that headbutt, which ultimately got him stood up. And I also think he was doing, both of the guys were doing the same mistake. They were like just not defending the takedown at all because I guess they feel like, well, I could win the grappling battle, so I could work for my guard here and try to hit a sweep here, to attack subs here. And I think that's what they both were going for. But ultimately, like, once Muniz gave up that position due to like a headbutt, when he got taken back down, Paul Craig took full advantage of that and was able to ultimately end the fight. So, yeah, could have been some better adjustments there, but I think ultimately this fight further and fully exposed that Muniz is truly a front runner. So when you factor in fights, like if he's gonna be in a bad position, the guy that's of the same skill, better skill, or a guy that could put him in bad position like that, or make him uncomfortable like that, and take him out of the position of the front runner, the guy that's dictating everything. I think that's be clear favor material. But also, what I would say with this matchup, I think, not with this matchup, with this match and this outcome, I think this fully puts a fork in the steak or a knife in the steak that is Muniz prospective of being a true elite middleweight and being a guy that challenges for a title. I think right now he's just gonna turn into a stepping stone, and I think he's been exposed now twice. I think this time is the biggest tell. And as far as Paul Craig, let me say another thing. While Paul Craig was able to do that, Paul Craig might crumble to strikers in that sense, but he typically it's probably been like one instance, maybe one or two instances, but it's been like 4 or 5, not 4 or 5, but it's been more instances of him crumbling to like heavy-handed strikers, like again like Khalil Roundtree, Minifield, and Pedro, and some other guys. And now Johnny Walker. So again, it's been a lot of times he's just been crumbled on it, like this lock up against a heavy-handed striker or a guy that's coming at him with heavy hands. It's been several instances of that. As I mentioned, like again, Khalil Roundtree, Tyson Pedro, Johnny Walker, Alonzo Minifield, and probably at least one more. So it's been several instances of that, but only one I can think of when it was kind of like a grabbing situation was like Jimmy Croup. So yeah, but at least he has shown the ability to be tough, and he has shown the ability to beat a nail and come back and find submission, like against Ankalaev, against what's his name? But anyway, I had his name in my head for a second, but I don't know if is he Ukrainian or is he Russian, but I think you guys get into who I'm trying to lean to. But he was on the ground getting his head dribbled, then he was able to get a submission. So yeah, he's shown the ability to battle through, which we have not seen from Muniz, and I think that's just a character trait of his. He does not battle through. In adversity, he will shell up. When he's not the nail, not the hammer, he will shell up. And I think that's something to examine about Muniz. But I think at this point, it's already going to be, everybody going to know. It's not nothing new. Like, nobody going to say, unless it's going to be the people that say, it was just a fluke win. Muniz is still this, Muniz is still that. Not to say Muniz is a bad fighter, but I definitely, again, I think that puts a stake, I said steak, puts a knife in the steak that is Muniz's chances of being elite middleweight or being even in that talks, and definitely as far as winning the belt. I never thought he would win the belt or nothing like that, but I thought maybe this could be a guy that could challenge for the belt and maybe hang around at the top of the weight class for a couple years. But now I think that's all kind of dashed. I definitely think he can rebound. I definitely think he can rebound some and probably pick up some wins, but definitely gonna look at him closer. I'm definitely probably never gonna put this guy as a high confident pick again. I can see people like 26 or 23 or something like that. I'm like, he'll bounce back, but 33, I think he is. I don't think he's gonna bounce back like that. Like he's not gonna bounce back to be a person that I think I will pick high confidence unless it's like some guy on short notice. They bring it up from regional scene who all of his losses, he got like 10 losses by submission. They're like, oh, this is easy money for Andre Muniz, but a guy that can match his grappling to some extent and more well-rounded, more experienced, stuff like that, or equally experienced, then I'm probably gonna lean to them. But all to be determined. But as far as Paul Craig, I think we already know who he is. I don't think he's gonna go very far in this weight class. He picked up a good win. It's gonna help his confidence. But the moment he goes in with a guy that can stuff his takedowns and put some heat on him, I think he's gonna get stopped again. Go in there with a guy that can stuff his takedowns and that puts some heat on him. And I don't know, maybe just a real good, well-rounded fighter who can mix it up, take him down, and neutralize some of his submission attempts. I think that's going person gonna beat him. But yeah, I think his ceilings has already. I don't think his ceilings any bigger or higher than it was at light heavyweight. I think it's about the same thing. He dropped down. He dropped down pretty well, but I don't think it's gonna evolve him as a fighter or give him any extra advantages. So that's my take on that. And then the fourth and final L was Molly McCann versus Julija Stoliarenko. And with this one, I went low confidence. I just completely ignored this fight. I didn't put no bets on this fight. I didn't give no second thoughts on this fight. Molly McCann, I already knew that she was like 0-4, 0-3 against grapplers. And now I think she's 0-4 or 0-5 against grapplers now. So I already knew. I saw it when the line came out, it was like minus 475 or minus 400. And I said in my first look video, I said those odds make no sense. But hey, I can say it don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. But did you make sense off you knowing it didn't make no sense? I did not. I just left the fight alone. But yeah, I left the fight alone. But I picked Molly McCann because I feel like yes, Julija Stoliarenko is a grappler. She's a one-trick pony. She's very good at that one trick. But also she struggles to make the weight. She's 10-8, so she got a basically 500 record. Hasn't really amounted to much in her career in the UFC. Cut into a weight that she pretty much almost died at 2 times trying to make the weight. So it was like a lot of facts I didn't like. So I thought Molly McCann, she does struggle with grapplers. She should be able to survive a round, then take advantage of it, maybe exhausted, drained Stoliarenko and get her out in the second round. At 125, it should have been I was thinking Molly McCann should win it. If it goes to bantamweight, then that turns into a case where I might lean Julija Stoliarenko. But at flyweight, given the fact that she did struggle to make the weight class several times before, and matter of fact failed to make the weight class several times before, I was I think Molly McCann has enough in her to beat her. But that clearly was not the case. And now I think this is another case where it just stamps in that this is truly who you are. I think Molly McCann is someone who's just going to take L's to grapplers till the day she retires. And that's just going to be it. So, as far as Julija Stoliarenko, I don't think this is such an amazing performance from her at all. I think it's this case she found a good stylistic matchup, maybe whether she realizes or not. But she's going to realize soon, probably in her next fight or next couple fights, that, yeah, I just got a good stylistic matchup. I was able to get a popular fighter on my resume, tap her on the first round, impressive win. But mainly because that was a stylistic matchup that suited me. This girl was 0-4 against grapplers. Now she's 0-5, and I added another L to that tally of her. So, yeah, ultimately not super impressed with Stoliarenko, and really just I'm not even disappointed. I knew who Molly McCann was, but I did at least think that she was better than that. But hey, she can't break that streak or that track record against grapplers and hold strong. So 0-5 now, and that's what it is. So no investment in that fight, and not high on either girl going forward. Hopefully Stoliarenko gets better value in her next fight, because people are like, oh, she did this to Molly McCann, so she don't get hit with some crazy odds. All of a sudden she plus 10,000. Hopefully it probably bring her down to a plus 170. Well, I don't know. Hopefully it brings her opponent to a minus 200 or something instead of them being a minus 500. That's all I'm saying. Because I'm likely picking her next opponent. Because unless they did somebody that can't grapple either like Molly McCann. If they can't grapple like Molly McCann, I'll probably pick Molly McCann. If they can't grapple like Molly McCann, then or they have a grappling weakness to grapplers, then I'll probably pick Julija Stoliarenko. But they're a good overall fighter, or got even this solid submission defense, then I'll probably pick them over Julija Stoliarenko all day. But yeah, good win for Julija Stoliarenko, but not high on her. That's my take on that one. So that was my fourth and final L. Now let's talk about the main event. Yeah, the main event was pretty solid. Very solid in my, well, I want to say very solid. It was a quick finish. But it was a solid performance from Tom Aspinall is what I'm trying to say. Went out there and stopped Marcin Tybura, who was on a pretty good streak or was looking pretty good as a recent. And he was able to just run through him and knock him out first round in 1 minute and 15 seconds. So did it real pretty quick. He did it pretty quick and got him out of there and made a statement performance. As far as going forward, I think I think Aspinall, in my opinion, I think he's probably the best heavyweight prospect, in my opinion. Only time will tell, but I think, in my opinion, I'm much higher on him than I am on Sergey Pavlov. But I just think Tom Aspinall is more technical ever. But all it takes is one punch, and Sergey Pavlovich will definitely throw those tanks, definitely throw those bombs, and all it takes is one. But I think yeah, I think Aspinall beats him ever. I think Aspinall is a better submission grappler. I think he's a much more technical striker. But again, all it takes is one shot. You could be the most technical fighter in the world. Then you got Ngannou come at you. He just hit you with a sloppy wide hook, and you wake up like, what happened? Oh, that's all it takes. So, but yeah, I think Aspinall is the best prospect here overall. So Rogan, if he has some actual good, solid takedown defense and some better BJJ, maybe he might be able to shift that up. But as long as his grappling is an issue for him, I think Tom Aspinall is clearly the best as far as my eye test. I think Tom Aspinall right now is clearly the best threat to John Jones if he stick around, or anyone vying for that title. The biggest threat to Sergey Pavlovich, the biggest threat to John Jones, the biggest threat to Stipe Miocic if he somehow beats John Jones. So all those people that's hovering around that belt, he's the biggest threat to them. And I think without a doubt, this kid will be a future champion in the UFC. And yeah, going forward, I think since John Jones is fighting Stipe Miocic, I think Tom Aspinall should fight Sergey Pavlovich for the #1 contender, unless Pavlovich just wants to sit out. But yeah, I think they should set that fight up because it's probably gonna be some time. And who knows? It might end up being, I don't know. Will it end up being that? Who knows? It might end up being the case that they might fight for a vacant title because John Jones might beat Stipe Miocic and then vacate the title. So now that takes away Stipe and that takes away John Jones. And now you just got those two sitting at the top of the weight class and an empty throne. So I don't think they need to necessarily rush. But if, things keep stretching out and time keeps going on, this will definitely, in my opinion, be the best match to make next. But given the fact that John Jones pretty much has nothing else to do in the sport and likely will retire after this fight regardless, unless he gets an Ngannou fight, maybe go to PFL for some big money, who knows. It's looking likely that he's going to probably retire after his next win. And then, yeah, either way, it could either be a #1 contender fight or a vacant heavyweight title bout. Either way, it would be amazing. I definitely think it would be amazing for a vacant heavyweight title bout. Amazing for that. And that's my take for this card. I went 11-4, 11-15, and I say it again. So 11-4, 11-15, solid card, phenomenal card. And all I could do is take my lessons and try to get better and cash in better on the next card. So solid card all around in every single facet of the way of success, and on to the next. And that's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.